Welcome to the Tempo Storm Deck Spotlight series, featuring Wall Priest. Wall Priest is a new archetype that came out of nowhere following the balance changes. Since a lot of aggressive decks got nerfed, combo decks have more room to breathe. Wall Priest is a new take on the old combo priest archetype, still relying on Divine Spirit and either Inner Fire or Topsy-Turvy to kill their opponent. Where this list differs from the traditional combo priest is the focus on high health minions. Typically, Combo Priest relies on multiple health buffs to burst down their target. This version runs beefy minions, lowering the amount of spells needed. These large minions also have Taunt, which helps against aggro decks. Another interesting difference is the inclusion of Master Oakheart. This allows for a huge swing turn later in the game, but prevents the deck from running minions like Radiant Elemental or Lyra Sunshard. Before we jump into the breakdown of the deck, make sure you're subscribed to the channel in order to keep up to date with all of our Hearthstone content. Now let's take a look at this deck's main win conditions. Wall Priest can play the game in a few different ways, but the deck itself has linear win conditions based on the matchup. Wall Priest's success relies on one of two game plans: overwhelming their opponent with several taunts, or killing him with a buffed minion. Against aggressive decks, you want to stick to the plan of exhausting your opponent with huge taunt minions. Focus on keeping your Tar Creepers and Witchwood Grizzlies healthy, as these are the best aggro stoppers. Moshog Enforcer is a helpful tool as well, but it's often too expensive against aggro. If possible, aim to get your minions summoned on empty boards. The best way to ensure this is to play them following the turn that you use your removal spells. Mass Hysteria and Psychic Scream are both keys to outlasting the pressure that these decks put on. It's not common that decks run Silence, so don't be afraid to use your Divine Spirits to buff up your taunts. If they can get through all of your survival tools, look to close the game out by summoning the minions back with both Eternal Servitude and Diamond Spellstone. Against slower decks, you'll be looking to kill your opponent. These decks win versus Wall Priest when they remove all your threats, as leaving one up could lose them the game. Due to how much health both Witchwood Grizzly and Moshog Enforcer have, players need to be cautious about keeping one alive. Lich King can also be important in slower matchups due to the crazy value it generates and provides a great resurrect target. Master Oakheart is another important win condition against any slow deck, as it's hard for them to deal with all the minions it pulls. After all your threats have been answered, you can make one last attempt to close out the game using Diamond Spellstones. If they cleared the Master Oakheart board, it's likely that they can't get through two or more large boards. Hold back on playing your smaller minions like Northshire Cleric or Tar Creeper in these matchups, as they won't accomplish much and they'll dilute the resurrect pool. Wall Priest is a pretty tight list and doesn't have much room for tech cards. Due to how the deck plays, you have to be hesitant to add minions to it, as it'll mess with the Master Oakheart battlecry as well as dilute your resurrect pool. You also need to be wary of how many spells you play, as it lowers the chance of discovering your combo pieces or Spellstone off of Shadow Visions. For this reason, if we're switching out cards, we should aim to remove a spell for a different one and should completely avoid adding minions. If you're running into a lot of aggressive decks, consider swapping out Mass Dispel in favor of a copy of Shadow Word Pain. This will help to stave off pressure in the early turns, allowing us to have more time to build a board of taunts. If you're encountering a lot of slower decks, you should remove the Divine Hymn and replace it with a second copy of Mass Dispel. This allows you to add more cycle to the deck, and sometimes silences can be crucial to stalling out the game. One thing that's important to note is that by doing this, you lose the ability to draw cards with Divine Hymn and Northshire Cleric, but it's better to avoid playing the minions against slow decks altogether. Wall Priest is a powerful deck that any player should consider bringing to ladder. It's powerful against aggro and control, which makes it a deck that's here to stay. Thanks for watching our video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe in order to keep up with our content. Let us know in the comments what deck you'd like to see us spotlight next. See you next time.